Okay, so the family moves south.
Moved south.
Right.
And then I had a whole new set of places to try to fit in.
Now, this is where Tom and everybody knows, if you should, if you listen enough, I mention it all the time, that I'm from the South Shore. I grew up in Randolph, but not quite the same. I'm a little younger than you are, but not quite the same lifestyle. I didn't hang around with the same kind of people you did. Yeah. But I share something with you. That restaurant you talked about, which is long gone. The Ni Hao restaurant. And tell me where that was,
That was at, now it's the Granite Plaza, I believe, but it used to be King's. There was a King's on Granite Street.
Anybody remember King's department stores?
Yeah.
Come on.
That's where I met my wife.
Yeah. I think my wife worked there for a short spell, well before I met her. Now, here's the thing. That restaurant became your hangout.
Yes, it did.
You and your buds. And you were a pretty good customer in the bar, particularly, right?
Very good customers.
Okay.
A lot of Black Russians and a lot of pork strips.
And there's a funny story, and I remember this, and I'm not a drinker, but I remember this. They had explain. They had you'd walk down. Go ahead.
Yeah, there was, I think, 2 steps coming down into the bar. It was very dimly lit. You'll remember there were no windows in this place. And there was just stone walls, dark, decor.
Right.
And people would come in and they would look down to the bar, but you really didn't realize that you had to step down into it. And we would always know a stranger coming into that bar because they would miss those 2 steps and come bouncing down the stairs.
It's kind of like the Dick Van Dyke move over the...
yeah, just like that.
Yeah. Over the ottoman. Anyway, that restaurant, I used to go to the movies. It was right next door. There was a little movie theater, two screens.
Yeah.
And I wasn't in your league. I mean, I was just having, a Coke and a pork strip or whatever and chicken wings.
No wonder they threw you out.
Yeah, I got thrown out. Arthur, right? The guy.
Arthur, odd job.
Now, okay, let's back up. The guy who used to manage it or own it, was he the manager or the owner?
I believe he was the owner and the manager, yeah.
This guy, who you describe him as?
I described him good, didn't I?
From Goldfinger, right? He was one tough son of a gun. And listen, not to be, I'm not, this is really, really just the subject of my stand-up routine, but very few times do you go to a Chinese restaurant and get the kind of treatment, oh, welcome, nice to see you. It's what do you want? That's generally the way they do it.
Never got the welcome, nice to see you.
What you want? Okay, I'll just, and then I get thrown out for some reason. I don't know why. I wasn't drinking.
He probably walked up to you and says, Jordan, you cause bad atmosphere.
Yeah. You don't drink enough Black Russians. Out. But that was a period. By the way, we should. This is good. Yeah, we're not here to disparage anybody. That restaurant's long gone.
It is.
I don't know whatever happened to Arthur. Who knows?
I don't know. I went to Florida and they closed up. I guess they didn't know
the
business.
Ni Hao restaurant. Anyway, that was a period in your life. Where you're getting older and you're doing a lot of drinking at that point.
Yeah.
With a bunch of people who could keep right up with you.
Yeah, and I was explaining to my son on the way over here that the reason that I did a lot of drinking was it was my mechanism to fit into my new area, and that was the way I chose to do it.
Still happening today with people, obviously. It's never, nothing new. But it's such a difficult thing when you move to a new neighborhood at any age to try to fit in, to try to be part of that neighborhood and feel accepted.
Yeah, and I was determined that I was not going to be the outsider in this neighborhood. If it killed me, I was going to fit in. And it almost
nearly did. Yeah.
Several times.
Talking with, let me just reintroduce Thomas Cirignano, spelled Cirignano. Tom's a listener. Tom lives in the area. His sister actually introduced me to him. She's a regular listener and caller. And he wrote a book that, interestingly enough, has room to make notes. You allow people to make notes in the book. Why?
Well, I've always been interested in people's stories, and I think everybody has a story to tell. And a lot of people think that their story's not interesting, but actually, wouldn't you like to know the dark secrets of your parents, or what they did when they were young, or your uncle? I think you can gain a better understanding of people when you know where they've come from, what they've been through, and what maybe seemed insignificant to them really might have formed the type of person that they are.
That's an extremely important point, because storytelling is a very important part of the human experience. We live from generation to generation through our stories, and I think it's a great idea for everyone to write, even if it's never published, to write their memoirs, to write their memories.
Right.
So
even
we
if
can
you're
keep
just
that
going to
alive.
share it with your children, because your children would love to know, your history. And I think a lot of parents take for granted that, well, we're not going to be interested in our parents' stories. But I think there's a lot to be learned.
In your story, The Constant Outsider, you're always faced, as many people are, with that decision. Do I go here with this group?
Yeah.
Or do I say, no, I'm going to take the safe route? And many times you didn't take the safe route, like a lot of people.
But I knew where to draw the line, I think, in most cases, not always.
Right.
But in certain instances, I knew where to draw the line so that I could, coexist but not go overboard. Yeah.
But you can see, it's funny, when you're at least able to judge a situation while you're in it, you can see where someone is just, oh no, that guy, that's bad news. It's happening. I can see it happening, almost like in slow motion.
Your one bad choice in your life takes a totally different turn.
Now you grow up in an era, and this is the time when cars mean everything. Cars today, everybody's got a car, but in that period,
you don't hear burning rubber anymore.
No, you don't hear it. It was a great time to have a car. I know my first car was my first real car was a Dodge Aspen with a beautiful vinyl roof, powder blue, 8-cylinder monster. And then in 2 weeks, it was, I was in the middle of I was in East Boston, and I stopped a criminal from escaping from a police chase.
Really?
Ruined my car. The guy gets out
Honestly, see, now you could write a book.
Well, I'm working on, it'll take me 14 years to write that one chapter, because it was, but your cars, tell me about some of the cars you had.
Well, I had a beautiful emerald green 71 Eldorado, and it was mint condition, white leather interior, white vinyl roof. It ended up taking down a telephone pole not far from the Colbert School in Braintree. I'm not proud of it, but I wrote about it because maybe somebody else will learn from my mistakes. Replaced it with a 74 Dodge Challenger that I wish I had today, because they're worth a fortune.
Those are beautiful cars.
It had a 360 thermo quad, posi traction. It was midnight black with strobe.
Got about a half a mile to the gallon, but that's all right. What a car.
That thing was undefeated except by a Jaguar. I mean, that's the only car that ever beat that car.
Yeah.
And that ended up wrapped around a pole in Bridgewater.
Now, one of the things that you write about, and I've never, I'll bring it up because you write about it, you evaded the law a couple times.
A couple of times.
I mean, to have the gumption to try to outrun the cops back then, or any time, is interesting. What happened in both
Well, I was
cases?
driving a stolen car at the time. Well, it was my car that I had reported stolen, and it's a long story. I didn't do it on purpose, but anyway, I ended up driving a stolen car into Southie one Saturday morning and figured, well, this is the perfect time to outrun this cop that was trying to stop me, because, number one, they don't know who's driving the car, and it was a dumb thing to do. I'm not proud of it, and people can get hurt and lives can be ruined.
Did you make it?
I made it.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. I mean, you made it somehow.
Then there was an incident in New Hampshire with a group of us going up to a chalet that we had rented up there, and I had no license for a motorcycle at the time. So I told my buddies to take it easy going through Conway. What do? They all start pulling wheelies. Wrong thing to do. Two cruisers pull out and start chasing us. I had to take off because I couldn't stop. They would have impounded my bike. And I'm racing up the Kangamangas Highway, and I got away from them that time, too. They're probably going to be waiting for me out in the parking lot.
Well, there's a statute of limitations. Is there, Petey? I hope so.
I hope so.
Hey, thank you. I have a lot of police officers on my side here. There's Mary, the cop from Braintree. I wonder if she knows. I wonder if she ever had a tussle. No, she's not old enough to have a tussle with you.
I do want to reinforce the fact that I'm not. I wouldn't encourage anybody to ever try something like that.
And again, you're being honest. You're talking about real stories, and your son's sitting right over here.
I know. And he's learned a lot from me, so he's avoided all these things.
We'll take a short break. Let's do this. Let's open up the phone lines if you want to say hello to Tom. If you're from the neighborhood, let's put it that way, or just think about this: the idea of fitting in and the peer pressure. It just exists. No matter who you are, whatever generation you are, and how you contend with it. But if you have any memories of Southie or memories of Dorchester you want to share, 617-254-1030. We'll be back in just a matter... Oh, it's such a classic night. In just a matter of moments.